So I basically wanted to talk to you about how I use AI for different startups. Um, Back in um, California, I have different AI startup houses where we launch different programs. So today I'll talk to you a little bit about what I do, how the AI startup houses allow us to basically launch all sorts of teams of people into the AI in their business from the ground up, from zero to something that has clients, and how we do this in different cities like LA, Hawaii, um, in Las Vegas. I'm going to talk to you about prompt development, how we develop my AI framework that we use for our AI app lab, where we do custom software solutions and AI wearables, or AI robotics lab, and also a little bit about my personal AI playbook and predictions about how companies could improve their strategy with AI as well. Sound good? All right. So a little bit about myself. So my background is I'm presently in a PhD program for information technology. My father was a computer science professor who became a university president. And I started going to university taking computer science classes when I was about 12 years old. And I've been in university ever since then. So I'm 45 right now. I've been in university for 33 years. And during that time, I spent 25 years developing an education company. It was a company built on a tech platform that ended up launching live events. So we do events like this, but we do over 1,000 of them every year with influencers that I create from the very, very beginning. So after about 25 years of building that company, I sold the company, exited, and I ended up just traveling around the world and getting into spiritual practices, meditation and yoga and all sorts of crazy spiritual retreats and adventures around India and Latin America. And then eventually I met Naringa because I ended up doing talks about how AI could transform things, because I decided that after all that travel, 7 years of just traveling to 150 countries, I wanted to get back into business. So I started teaching business at Brigham Young University. And then I started teaching these programs all over the world. I did 4 to 7 times a week, different seminars, just like this, but last year, 4 to 7 times a week, just continually traveling. And during that time, I thought it was really great. I could teach AI, and it was a huge passion of mine. And the reason why I got into this is because I wanted to create a business, but I wanted to create a business that didn't have all the headaches that you have in my previous company. We had over 1,000 people working together, and all my headaches came from people. I thought, what if I could build a business where we had AI agents and bots developing all sorts of business processes, systems, and technology? But it didn't work out that way at all. I ended up hiring way more people way faster than I could possibly handle. But one of the cool things is it led me to launching a venture studio. I decided that out of all my students, many of them want to become entrepreneurs. Just out of curiosity, has anyone in this room decided that they wanted to create a business or thought about creating a business? That's pretty good, about half the room. Last year it was very, very few. But basically what I wanted to do was I wanted to build a process where I would be motivated to go back to work. So I decided that every month I was going to launch a new business, and I was going to use AI to help me launch these businesses. And in order to do that, I needed to have peer pressure. I couldn't just do it myself. So I got a bunch of students together in a 10-bedroom house, and I ended up creating a company that teaches AI. That led me to traveling all over the world, teaching AI to different people. But also during that time, I was continuing hiring people that were in the audience, people that would come to my tech house. It was completely free to participate. You live with me in this 10-bedroom house that I have in Las Vegas. And during that time, each person works together to develop a brand new idea from nothing into something that actually has clients. And the first task you get is the first task that nobody wants to do, which is to reach out to 40 brand new customers that don't know you and get at least one of them to buy your product. It's not even building the product or service, which is kind of hardcore, especially if you have a tech company. Most people think you have to raise a bunch of money first, then build the technology, build the product, build the service. But oftentimes, you usually do consulting first, and then it leads to developing the tech around the ideas of people. And then as a result of that, as opposed to most people raising a ton of money and then not getting that product out there, you have a situation where the majority of the people actually hit revenue. And the other thing is, during that first 30 days, you're not allowed to go into red more than $1,000. Pretty hardcore, right? But out of this, we've had so many people successful. But it required people to learn what we call AI mastery. And to me, that's basically leveraging AI to boost your productivity, boost your efficiency, channel your operations, and you make it more of a partner. Actually, my whole PhD thesis is about how we could use the technology acceptance model, which is focused on both the ease of use and how the usability of the system is, and also a diffusion of information model. So basically, how basically it is used throughout the company and how teams can use that together. And so what I wanted to do was create a system where these two models were first and foremost spread throughout the company, and how teams are using AI was more like a partner, where you're basically using it as a strategic partner. So whenever someone came to me and asked me for business advice, I've created a lot of companies, 80 companies, and 20 of them turned into multi-million-dollar companies. And people always ask me, hey, what do I do about this and this and this? And I'd always say one simple thing first. What did ChatGPT say to you? And not because I believe that ChatGPT had the right answer, but because I wanted them to use it as a sounding board to develop their thought process, to come to me to let me know that they actually thought about what they were doing. And whether it's for marketing or building your brand or even the strategic operation and the whole vision of how the company's supposed to operate themselves, by doing that, they were pushing themselves forward. And then when they came to me, I could give them some real world experience about how I personally would do things based upon what I've done in the past. As a result, we've even made a whole temple. This is actually a Hare Krishna temple full of monks that I ended up living with, and now we call them the tech monks because they actually leveraged AI to launch their own temple. But other than that, we have some interesting stories here. This on the left is 150 tasks that I give our entrepreneurs. And when I say 150 tasks, I say that if you complete these 150 tasks, it's literally impossible for you to go from zero to not having a successful company with profit. Some of those tasks are pretty hardcore, like publish a book and make it a best-selling book. Organize an event and actually make a sale from the event from stage. Organizing a video commercial and then post it and make a sale off of it. Any one of those things could potentially take the entire 30 days. But say you have 5 of those tasks, what I call mission impossibles. Not because they're impossible, but because people think that some of these things are impossible. And so these mission impossible exercises, people have to do 5 of those tasks every single day. Which means that if you do that, you have 150 of these tasks completed. And on the right, you have a list of different speakers that come. People like the billionaire Jay Bloom or the coach Bill Walsh or different members of my entrepreneur club, the Young Presidents Organization. And they will come and speak and share their experience on average, people that have $100 million plus companies. And it's been a great opportunity, I think, to really share ideas. But as a result of that, these entrepreneurs, many of them have no tech background. I would say like 20% of them are highly technical, like the people in this room. 80% of them had almost zero tech background. And yet at the same time, we were able to transform them. So we have a couple of women on the upper left that were partners in the business, and they decided they wanted to create a non-technical business. They wanted to create a business that was a marriage and consulting company. But they were able to use AI to develop their own GPTs, their own chatbots, voice bots, custom agents. They developed their own website using vibe coding. Pretty amazing. And as a result of that, they now have a business that does each of them 6 figures a year, 6 figures in revenue, and they're growing. And the bottom right, we had Luciano. Luciano, straight out of high school. And he decided he wanted to create an information publishing business. But after about a week and a half, he learned so much about AI, because the first day you're there, you're in an 11-hour seminar with me learning about AI. And as a result of that, he now does custom integrations throughout Brazil. And one of his business associates now has a tech house in Brazil where all of his clients are fully funded by this TV show called Shark Tank Brazil, which is a famous show where people invest money. And as a result of that, he now is doing speaking gigs in front of thousands of people about AI. This is someone who had no technical background at all, didn't go to computer science, didn't study anything in university. But as a result, the speed of which you can learn some of these tools is so amazing right now. Even if you don't have the programming. Now, he does know programming now. He has done a lot of work, but it's like simple stuff, like stuff that the code that he develops primarily is from ChatGPT. He uses N8N for integrations. It's like he has enough that he's built now 3 software platforms where you have some monthly memberships, and it's pretty amazing. But what are the most common things that we use AI for? So right now, most of the common solutions that we have is what can increase the efficiency for where your CEO and their C-suite and teams can really use AI the best. I think the most common thing we've seen is for scheduling, especially if you're doing scheduling for outbound sales and calls. We found a lot of people are trying to do B2B business where they have to reach out to maybe a CMO, a CTO, the CEO, and coordinate all these meetings, and AI helps facilitate that. We've also found that it's drafting emails and messages and outreach for LinkedIn campaigns and social media campaigns. And then the strategy around that is basically to focus on stuff that builds relationships and tasks that build relationships with your customers first and foremost. And I always love that first. But I think the speed of which we could make things more productive is also what's exciting. And I love that because time is the thing that I love saving more than anything else. And so I love using tools like this. This is a tool called Mitra. Anyone know about this tool? Anyone from the USA? Okay. So this tool is actually right now only available in the USA, but there's similar tools. In fact, you can also build your own using a service called Scipio and connecting it to other services. But basically what it does is you just text it and say, hey, I want you to make a phone call. I want you to make a dinner reservation. I want you to reschedule my helicopter pilot school sessions because I'm in helicopter pilot school. And it'll do all that. It'll even call people and do research. It'll call my friends and make appointments. And it'll follow up with them, get answers. But it responds to me by text, and with a push of a button, I could enter it. So imagine being on one of those long call systems and you're trying to talk to your bank or something like that. Well, after it gets to a certain point, it'll say it's probably about time that you jump into the call. You push a button, you get into the call. But it saves so much time. Now, this is one of my favorite ways that AI could be used. But the other thing I'd like to do is how can it develop your strategy? How can teams develop, say, mind maps and resources that could help transform things? A lot of people might do it in Figma nowadays. We do that for like engineering, but we also do that for mind mapping our ideas and thought processes. But I think that when you're using AI, not just for your business, but just on your personal productivity alone, it really is a great way to kind of push the limits of what's possible. The other thing I think that is great is that it also is a great way to make sure that your no-code solutions are integrated to your calendar, your Gmail, your systems, filters for Slack and WhatsApp. And by having all these filters in place, it allows me to focus on only the messages in the past. I used to use an executive assistant, and now I have AI kind of just filtering all my messages and putting them to the forefront for me so I can respond to those things. Unfortunately, I also have things that fall through the cracks right now. It's not perfect because I don't actually check my email anymore. I don't think I've checked my email now in years. But as a result of this, I still am able to get some results a lot faster. I think a lot of the things I also like doing, especially when you're doing the rapid acceleration, through vibe coding. Anyone using Bolt or Lovable or any of these vibe coding solutions? We developed entire websites just using those. I'll show you some examples later. But I love how in the future, and it's not really done yet, like this is Zapier, which allows us to use API connections and make it really, really fast. There's a wizard where you could type in, hey, I want you to build this automation where if someone contacts a customer, it basically goes to a database. The database sends out an email, sends out a text message, a response. Now, this integration was built just using the magic tool of Zapier, which is pretty cool, pretty fast. But I believe that ChatGPT in the long, not so long future will be allowing us to build all of integrations as well. I love the speed at which GPT is moving things forward. Another thing I like showing is how it can be used for chatbot services, but also using some of the best practices people use. So many of you might have like social media accounts, or maybe they're managing that for your companies. One of the things I love about this is that the most important things you could get done when you build a proper chatbot first is to basically get the contact information of your customers. Okay, great. I have their name, I have their email, and I have their phone number. But their name usually just comes from their profile for messaging me. After I have that, now I love how I could guide people through a process. So when we develop chatbots for companies, the first thing we want to do is after getting their contact information and putting them under autoresponders is to educate the chatbot who they're talking about, and then sending them information. You'll also notice, though, that this chatbot does not look like an Expedia.com chatbot or some kind of chatbot on an enterprise-grade website because it looks like you're watching a movie. Why is that? I have memes, I have interesting things that pop up. It's like entertaining. And the memes are generated based on canned responses at first, but then the AI eventually starts coming in, and the AI starts allowing questions to be answered directly. And on top of that, based upon what you're saying and how it's talking, the AI is going to be continually developed so that when the AI calls you, which is about 5 minutes into the conversation, now it knows all sorts of information about you. It also could schedule an appointment with the setter-closer system, the sales reps, this junior and sales team, based upon your needs or income or products that you're interested in selling. And it's all completely integrated with all the scheduling systems, Google Calendar, Google Email, text messaging systems. And the speed of which you could do that is pretty amazing. I was talking to Scipio's C-suite last night, and one of the interesting things about that is you could send out a blast, not just via social media, but you could contact literally 1 million people at the same time, in the exact same second, integrating AI voice calls all at the same time. And the reason why I think this is so great is because I've seen it with one of our customers. Danu Properties is the largest real estate developer in the Middle East, and they had so much commissions going out to sales brokers, where basically 90% of the phone calls that were coming in and going to brokers. Now it's reversed, where 90% of the calls are going through AI agents and getting into their setter closure system to get sales. And the efficiency of which you could save that time and money is so amazing. But you really have to know your customer avatar, and that's where really strong prompt generation comes in place. Because through that process, you basically have to make sure that there's no mistakes. So just don't make any mistakes. No, but if you develop the right prompts, you can really make a system that kind of takes over your entire sales process, which is amazing. And from that, you can develop all sorts of things. In fact, we have a tool that our internal team developed that also builds video sales letters and video marketing materials. For example, this is me, but it's not me. These words were not written by me. In fact, the words that come out of my mouth that sounds like me, also is not me. It's all AI. And the other thing is, this is not just a single camera video. This is a multi-camera video built into a video sales letter, selling a product and service based upon a knowledge base that was fed to it. And the speed at which this was created was almost instantaneous, just filling out information. Now, I also love HeyGen, because HeyGen allows you to build great chatbots, but a video bots can answer questions. We're actually doing this for the Dalai Lama as well, because we have 30,000 hours of his content that could allow us to talk to Dalai Lama, but basically a future Dalai Lama. And it's kind of a cool way to do that. I think it's also kind of quite fun. I love showing people how fast it is to do this. Anyone ever create a video avatar of themselves? Just out of curiosity, anyone? One person, first, of course, the person from Google and some of the speakers. But the fact that you could just take a video of yourself for 2 to 3 minutes and upload it into HeyGen, and you have your own video streaming avatar that could say pretty much anything you want, is pretty amazing. Now, there are faster, better ways to do this now, especially with Meta AI's recent update this month, which is pretty amazing. From that, I'm going to show you some cool examples. So I took a picture of a girl's Instagram. This is one of my clients. I took a picture from her Instagram page, not even a high-resolution picture. And from that picture, I was able to turn her into this, which is without HeyGen. This is just with Meta AI's free tool. And then I was able to sync it to her voice, which I got from the internet, and then turn it into a video series stream with text talking about her passions and her interests. And all the clips here were just made in Sora. And this video commercial, which I think is pretty professional looking, this video commercial probably would have in the past cost $3,000, $4,000. It probably could have taken, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 days with a full team, or 3 to 4 weeks if I had a solo practitioner working on the project. It shouldn't take like 3 to 4 minutes, but that's exactly what we were able to do. So that's kind of cool. The fact that also not only is she talking, but I also could make her walk. I can make her walk and talk at the same time. I can make the background change. And that's just from a photograph. Now, to me, that's mind-blowing. I think it's truly amazing that you could do that right now. So she does sonic branding, which is using crazy instruments. Like she does sales calls, kind of like a home shopping network with bells, like a Pavlovian bell and whistles and what have you. We also add to our repertoire being able to add AI music. In fact, now some of our clients, even though they're CEOs, now have their own Spotify channels, because one push of a button, uploading this into a system, you can upload a whole album of different AI music and take your voice and make a similar voice. And you could lip sync it and make your own music videos using that process what I showed you with Meta AI. Great tools for branding. Now, that's just pure fun, but what's some of the practical things you could do? Let's say you have people's names and email addresses and phone numbers. And let's say I wanted to create an interesting, unique marketing campaign. So I got their information, I sent them an email. That email instantly comes out, but what also instantly happens is that AI video is automatically generated, and whatever the website of your customer could appear in the background. Or if you want to do a web scroll, you could also turn it into your LinkedIn page. Now, I don't know about you, but I used to respond to every single LinkedIn message that was sent to me. I used to get ads from people's LinkedIn pages. And one of them had like one of those videos, so I had to figure out how that was done. So what I highly recommend each of you guys to do, just spend 5 minutes sometime this week just making the AI avatar in agents completely free and playing with it. And then eventually you could do crazy things like this. Also using no-code, low-code solutions, you could build virtual worlds right now. Did you guys know that? This actually isn't even just a virtual world. It's actually an overlay on my 10-bedroom house in Las Vegas, where we put Easter eggs, kind of like Pokemon Go, where you can interact with different things, and you could basically see me, my digital avatar, stream it. Some of the use cases for this is if you wanted to build a virtual training program or a virtual meeting site for your company and lay it out. This is one of the things that we've been doing. But the cool thing is, it didn't cost us any time. It basically was done by an 18-year-old who basically learned how to use this one software and put everything together. Now you have my avatar, you have learning lessons, and it's a great, fun way for doing training videos and education. In addition to this, I love the fact I could build websites. If anyone uses Bolt used to have free web hosting too. So I have tons of websites all hosted for free. And because of Bolt, I was able to build this website. And the cool thing about this is from my family office. And it's a single family office that invests in real estate. So we don't have any clients. We're just investing our own family money into different multifamily real estate. But the cool thing about this is that the website I thought was so good that I actually just kept it up. So if you go to cofamilyoffice.com, you could see the website. And the cool thing about it is that it was entirely built with AI. Now, not only can this build front-end websites, though, it could also build full platforms. So one of our clients in our AI startup house in Los Angeles wanted to build a marriage and family education platform with AI models transcribing different conversations and meetings, and then putting it together to give you updates about what you should say to your next client that comes in. The front end, the back end, the membership site, where the videos and everything else was entirely built in Bolt in one day. Something that would have historically cost a lot of money in development. Now, of course, many of you are developers. And as a result of that, you could also do a lot of builds upon what Bolt's doing because the code is rarely available to you. So I think it's a great way to kind of expedite things. So some of the other things I'd like about AI other than vibe coding is I love AI art. I remember I was here last year. They showed all sorts of ways AI art can be used. So I love the fact I could upscale images. I could go to my marketing team, come up with like 5 different stuff immediately and have it readily to review or talk about. I think the slowest part of the marketing process is taking different people, what they're wearing. You could change it. We actually developed something called AI wardrobe or AI closet, where you could take a picture of your closet and then you now could just take all the images from you and just put it on the different clients. And then your friends could comment on it as a social feature about what you recommend. For me, I love how I can now make fancy art, Christmas presents. It's the Christmas season. I can make Christmas cards. I could add all sorts of images. I remember last year I took a picture of Naringa and I put her into superhero outfits. I think it's kind of a fun way to do things. But for business, I love how I could use this to make all sorts of creatives. I also use all sorts of presentation tools, and I love how I could use this to also create art to enhance my Gamma presentations. So I think that the fact that I could do that, and I could also then transform it into video, is truly amazing. I remember when this video first came out from Sora as a demo, just to see what's possible. This is made by Emmy-winning documentarians. But the fact that this level of quality is rarely available to everyone today is amazing. And the fact that most people aren't doing it is also crazy. Like, who is using Sora at all, ever? Anyone? Wow, okay, 5 people in the whole room, it's amazing. So the fact that you could use this to literally make entire video commercials or even movies or whatever just to entertain your own family is amazing. I remember we used to use a tool called Wonder Dynamics, where you could also, you guys ever use Wonder Dynamics? Nobody? So you could literally take a picture of yourself, make an avatar of it, upload it into Wonder Dynamics, and then when you're watching your favorite basketball game, soccer game, football game, you could just take the characters that you want to be you and then upload your avatar into that, so you're actually the one playing baseball and your friends, as opposed to doing whatever sport that you're doing, you're actually in the game. So it takes that whole virtual betting system into a whole new level. You can see who's actually betting in there and playing. But it takes entertainment also to a new level. So if you aren't doing that, try it. It makes everything so much more fun. And I love doing that for team exercises, even within our own business. I think the best ideas come when your team is actually having fun. So other things I like doing. Anyone have wedding photos? You could animate your wedding photos and make them more interesting. I love doing this for videos for different creatives and social media shorts. So we manage influencers, and those influencers usually have millions of followers. But by just using things like this, we're able to make all their shorts so much more fascinating, so much more engaging and interesting, because video is so much more captivating than just still photos, about the majority of the time. It also allows you to create books. Now, I get that most people haven't thought about becoming an author, but I believe that regardless of whether you're a front-end figure of your business or a back-end person who wants to speak at events like this one, becoming a personal brand expert at whatever your expertise is, even if it's as niche as just something as technical as what you might have focused on in your day-to-day job, allows you to become an expert that also could bump up your salary, your pay, and opportunities. So I usually have everybody I work with, regardless of whether they're the CEO, do make a book and become a best-selling author. And the fact that this on the left was made by a 13-year-old girl, a book on ChatGPT about how to be a more productive 13-year-old girl, and she published it, is pretty amazing. On the right, I made that book in 5 minutes in a Chinese restaurant speaking into GPT, and then Sora could generate some awesome covers. But if you just go to childbook.ai, you could also create some amazing books that also allow you to create fun children's stories like the one on the right. There's a whole methodology I usually have in our startup house also, how to beat the algorithm and become a best-selling author. So you're top 100 in your category, or more likely number one. Like I've launched a book that's a number one bestseller as well. But you could also kind of beat the code and use a tool like Designer. Anyone hear about Designer? Okay, 2 people. But Designer is a tool that I think everyone should be knowing about, because it allows you to build not just a book, but a whole policy manuals, guides, books, and procedures based upon your knowledge base, and puts it in a professional format, ready to go and ready to be shared. And with one push of a button, it's published in Kindle Direct Publishing. And it allows you to have a book that's completely ready to go. So we did this for Crovit, which is this billion-dollar-a-year furniture company. They wanted to create a tabletop book. So any of your clients could also have something that's kind of fun. Regardless, it's a great gift to give away to your clients, just to build rapport and build customer relationships. And to show what's possible is amazing, because literally 5 minutes later, I could have a book that's 100 pages, 200 pages. I've even made books as much as 800 pages just to see what the limits were, to push the limit. Now, I've also had all my speeches transcribed from like a year and was turned into a book using an AI model and then put in Designer for formatting. That allowed me to have a 13-year-old be a co-author of my book who learned how to use those AI models and then put it through Designer, run it, publish it, and became a number one bestseller in AI, which is pretty fun. And the fact that you can all do this, you might as well have your own book. Anyone want to have a bestseller now? It's a lot easier now, right? It makes it a little bit more realistic. In fact, while the book's being generated, I can make a phone app. I could do a PowerPoint presentation. I could develop a website. I could do a front-end and back-end website using different tools, like UiZard, use Galileo, Gamma. But I could do all that, and so by the time the book is done 5 minutes later, it's good to go. And that is why I could tell people you could do these mission impossibles. Remember earlier, I was saying we're doing some crazy tasks, but the speed at which we can launch these things allows us to imagine anything. I remember there was a quote from the Bible. It said something like, God imagined the world. He spoke something to existence. He said a word. And we literally have the same power today to do that with all sorts of crazy things. So I think it's truly impressive if we are able to be that kind of level of creators. So try this out. Anyone do PowerPoint presentations, go to Gamma. I use it all the time for PhD presentations and have it make your presentations, just like how I can make a book. Now, a lot of people are concerned about intellectual property when we're talking about things like publishing books, making videos, making movies. And I get that. I think one of the things I learned when I was studying law I studied law for a master's at Harvard, and I did my JD in Minnesota at Mitchell-Hamlin School of Law. And one of the things that people are always concerned about is the fact when there's no precedent established. And I believe that there is a precedent established for what AI content can be owned and which can't be owned. Because there was a case called the Cerrone case. Anyone hear about the playwright Oscar Wilde? There was a case where Oscar Wilde had a photo taken of himself, and it was turned into a painting. And then that painting of the photograph was not made or authorized by Oscar Wilde, and it turned into a famous book that Oscar Wilde didn't want to be associated with. So there was a lawsuit. And as a result of the fact that the Supreme Court had said that you're not allowed to copyright protect anything that comes out of a machine, it has to come out of a human, there was concern whether this would be possible, even though Oscar sat in a chair for 3 days to make that perfect picture. But what happened was, coming out of that case, the photographer won because the photographer who took that photo had to spend 3 days making that photo, spent a lot of money buying all the materials and art. It was the artistic gaze of that photographer that mattered. And as a result of that, we can now protect your intellectual property from computer programs, from software, from other things, because it's not just coming from a machine, it comes from your creativity. Now, how does that relate to AI? Well, what is the input? What is your artistic gaze as AI users, engineers? It's the prompt. Now, if you make a short prompt, like make a picture of a cat, it's a lot less likely to be protected. But if you're building out legit prompts, that's where your intellectual property will come into question. So what is a perfect prompt? You have to very clearly state the goal. What is the format? What is the warnings? What is the context of what you're putting out there? You might have prompts that look like this, which is a lot of words, going step in step. Some people might want to use prompt engineers. Like I built a prompt engineer to develop your perfect prompt and make a really crappy prompt into a much larger prompt. But I believe that this is important to embrace now because it allows people like Luan here to be 18 years old and managing 100 AI content, AI management teams, and straight out of high school, going from my startup house program, living with me for about a month and a half, to going to Brazil and then having Carol Pfeiffer, the head investor from the TV show Shark Tank Brazil, and now running all of the AI for all of our companies. It allows you to do some crazy things. And also, just for fun, Luan made this video at my house. And this is a video he made just a few minutes. And you can see it's all AI generated. But the cool thing about this is that I wanted to show how powerful this could be. So we spent $5 on just meta ads through Instagram. And as a result, he got 330,000 views and almost 800 followers in my WhatsApp group. Pretty impressive. I had to turn it off because you have 1,000 max in WhatsApp. So when I think about AI, I want to think about what are the things that are going to make the most impact for my business. Think about it. What are the 3 things that will make the most impact in your business? And then think about how easy it is. What is the ease of use? What is the ease of getting things done with AI? After you have those things locked down, think, where's my data? Do I have the data to make this happen? Without the data is the new gold. You need to also have an executive sponsor, somebody who's going to integrate everything, who's going to make sure that this project goes through, who's the champion of the project. So after you have that, lock in your success metrics. What are your key performance indicators? What are you going to be tracking to make sure this project is actually getting the results you want to get? Usually you want to have also cross-functional teams. I never segment AI to just a tech team alone. I usually want to have them getting feedback, if it's from marketing, with sales, if it's finance, with finance, people that are integrated. I usually also try to get the project done within ideally a month, 2 months maximum. And then I'll scale up. I'll build the governance around the process, I map it out, and I scale it. But I create a project first, and I push things forward. Another thing I love doing is also doing it for business analytics. So this is a prompt saying, I want you to develop and I use code interpreter to also like analyze everything, but I want you to develop something that just analyzes all this data and spit out the results. So here I'm uploading some data from British Airways, and I'm just going to spit out a report like what are the routes that have the most traffic, where should we be spending more of our budget. But other than just analyzing that, we could also do things like this. So one of our students in our tech startup house is a guy named Jose Laviaga, who built a deduplication software company where companies that go through mergers and acquisitions, their data gets kind of commingled. They have cross-functional customer records. This allows them to actually take those customer records and merge out all the data that could be deduplicated and kind of like aligned so things get done properly. Also, it helps me with fraud. So here I've made a prompt where I said, hey, try to find any fraudulent activities. And here we basically try to find a $50,000 iPhone that's hidden 1 million cells of data. And as a result of that, it eventually goes there and it literally writes a computer program within code interpreter. And after that Python code comes out, it will run it and it will find out where the $50,000 iPhone is and say, hey, I want you to reach out to a human auditor to find out what's going on here. And the reason why I think that's important is because AI is not meant to replace your human spirit. It's not replace the human oversight. It's supposed to be used like a tool, just like how email is used as a tool. Even with supply chain, we'll set up sensors in different manufacturing sites, and we'll analyze the speed of which things get done in different warehouses. And we'll develop these things. But then we still need to have the warehouse leaders come in there, because data scientists could use tools like this to come up with all the results, but you still need to have the people on the ground working as a strategic synergy to make things work, to double check the efforts about what needs to get done. My favorite is for marketing. I built scalable companies that primarily made their money from social media. So here's a data set where I could analyze different social media channels. And I basically just said, hey, I want you to take all this content and analyze what is where I should be investing more of my money based upon the data analytics of this. And then, like I say, spit out into a PDF, spit out into a report. And then strategically, my team will now look at that, and they'll work together with the AI team putting all this stuff together and see, hey, how accurate is this data? What are the results? Do you agree with this feedback? And things that would have taken 3 months can now get discussed in like 3 hours with fast solutions. So speed of execution is the key to your success. And that's what I love about this. But you have to know where your data is. Is it in a desk drawer? Oftentimes, if it's not in SAP or Oracle, it's in your desk drawer. It's often easier because you can take that unstructured data, just scan it, and put it into a database or system. Is it readily accessible to your AI models so you could link to all that data and get the results? So when I look at this, I think, well, if it's something that could take, say, a week, but I get it done in 15 minutes, well, I just made a 200x productivity. If it's something like launching a book, which could potentially take 3 months full time, and I launch it in 15 minutes, that's 2400x productivity. Now, nowhere in history has anything like this ever been done technologically. And that is the tools that we basically have today, literally, that we're using every day in our startup house. It literally allows us to make commercials like this. Now, Danube used to make commercials, $500,000 commercials, using different blueprints. And this is AI just making something. This is like a year ago. This is even before like the new version of Sora and other stuff that came out. But we still were able to develop at least cartoonish, also somewhat realistic influencers even a year ago. And we were able to do this for like $3,000. And instead of like 3 months, it took us 3 hours. And so it's the speed of which that can be done, which is pretty amazing. Now we have an AI influencer where we can literally put this AI influencer into social media and have it talk, make music, sing, interact, be a chatbot spokesperson in video, chat, or voice. Now, my personal playbook, when I look at how we do these things, is I usually see companies who get their CEO to integrate things, takes about 6 months to integrate solutions throughout. And so I'm going to share with you my AI playbook about what that looks like. It looks like this. First, if your AI is not fully integrated throughout your company, get an old school process engineer to map out all your processes. Then take a look at your electronic processes and policies and see what is actually happening versus what you want to have happen. And then bridge that congruence gap so you're not spending a bunch of money working on things that you think are possible, but they're not actually realistic or actually being used by the people in your company. I always tell people, do what works for the people in your company and how they want to do things as opposed to how you want them to do things, because then they're more likely to use it. And then optimize that process. I think on average, each of these processes and systems, I think it's totally optimized in about 90 days. And that allows many companies to basically speed up things so fast, get so much profits that they end up moving a lot of people from their company. And I think that was the idea that I had when I found out about AI as well. I could just scale down. First year I got into AI, I hired people faster than I've ever hired my entire life. Instead, I put AI at the core and I just trained people up, kept the corporate culture strong. And instead of people working on what we call tactics, the actual manual input of different things, we made them into operators, as if they're managing not just people, they're managing AI bots, processes, and systems. And strategically, the people that are in a C-suite or were managers, they could manage more people. And are basically taking the timeline of where it takes usually 15 years to get someone to like C-suite level intelligence and expediting that, taking light years. Now, I believe that this is going to be the way most companies will be operating, but I think it's going to take about 3 to 5 years for companies to really formulate that. But if you get started now, that's where things will get much faster. And it reminds me of this story. So I went to a charity gala and I won a fighter jet experience. And I went into a room, not much different than this room, and I watched fighter pilots explain tactics. And it was very fascinating. I thought next time I could watch Top Gun, I could learn all these maneuvers. The guy who was teaching was saying, oh, just dive and do a left move. When the guy's chasing you, go right, do this, shoot the gun, shoot the missiles. I said, well, it's very, very entertaining, but it's kind of like over my head. But then what happened is I got into an airplane. I put in this uniform, I got into an airplane, a second airplane comes up, and we fly up. These are Italian fighter jets, they're called Marchettis. And then when I got in the air, the other jet just zoomed in front of us, and the pilot says, all right, go for it. I said, go for what? He said, what do you mean go for what? I just spent the last 30, 45 minutes talking to you about how to win a fighter pilot fight. I was like, I thought that was for entertainment. It's like, no, okay, just follow my instructions. Move the stick forward. I did that. Zoom, I'm zooming down. He's like, no, go back up. Zoom, I'm going straight up. I'm doing a loop-to-loop. Go left, go right. I'm doing barrel rolls. He's like, shoot the gun, shoot the gun. And I guess I shot the plane with this invisible fake laser, and some fake smoke comes out of the plane, signaling I shot down my target. Now, of course, you don't learn how to land a fighter jet in 30 to 45 minutes, so they landed the plane. Now, I could have sat in that classroom not for 30 to 45 minutes. I could have sat in that classroom for 30 to 45 years. I would not have known how to do it. But through that experience of me taking action, that's what helped. The number one business professor of all time is a guy named Peter Drucker. He wrote a book called The Effective Executive. Highly recommend you read it. He said, I don't care about what you learn in my workshops. I care about what you're going to do on Monday. I care about what you're going to execute. And that's exactly what I'm asking of you as well. So I want you to think about these 3 things. Write down 10 low-hanging fruit, impactful things that could really transform your organization. Write 3 things that if AI automated would make your life more productive. And write 3 things your business would immediately feel the impact. If you do these 3 things, it'll change your life. Now, if you guys want to stay in contact with a mastermind, a group of people that are people who are really totally obsessed with AI, a community of almost 1,000 people that will keep you up to date of the hottest new AI tech as it comes out in real time. This is a group. It's our WhatsApp group. It's for free. I know many of you are not on WhatsApp, but if you are on WhatsApp, this is the best AI resource. When everyone always asks me, how do you know so much about AI? Well, of course, I go to events like this. In fact, I just bought this really cool pair of glasses because these AI glasses I discovered from events like this. But other than that, this is the best resource. But if you wanted to also get an amazing video from me, reach out to me on WhatsApp or email or on LinkedIn or even go to my website or IG and just write a review of this talk. Just say one thing that you learned. Just go to my Amazon page, and I'm trying to get to more reviews on my Amazon page. And just write one thing you learned at my lecture today. I'm going to do something. I did this crazy event for a young presidents organization on AI. It became a certification course, a 3-hour certification course. And it it was an amazing event. And if you want, I'll give you a 3-hour program on how you could use AI to really launch your business and take it to a whole new level. And all the tools I shared with you today, I go into a little bit more detail. So I want you to take advantage of this opportunity. There's no better time than now to really accelerate your business at speeds faster than ever before. And thank you so much for listening to me today. Cheers.